He got caught spying on the alien diplomat. Her reaction left him speechless. The monitor's blue glow cast shadows across Marcus Webb's face as he scrolled through yet another hour of mundane security footage. Being assigned to overnight surveillance duty aboard the Unity station wasn't exactly the thrilling intelligence career he'd imagined at the Academy, but someone had to monitor the visiting diplomats during the historic peace summit. He stifled a yawn and reached for his cold coffee, eyes barely focusing on the grid of camera feeds. Most showed empty corridors, a few captured maintenance crews, and several displayed the sealed doors of the diplomatic suites. Protocol demanded constant vigilance, even when nothing happened for hours on end. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard, cycling through standard security checks. That's when he made his mistake, a simple keystroke error that rerouted feed Delta 7 through an encryption bypass. Suddenly, his central screen filled with an image that made him freeze. Ambassador Zedwayantara's private quarters materialized before him in crystal clarity. The Valerian diplomat stood in the center of her living space, her luminous silver skin seeming to glow in the soft lighting. Her midnight blue hair cascaded down her back as she moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid. She wore a simple Earth-style dress, unusual for her, as she typically appeared in formal Valerian robes during official functions. Marcus knew he should close the feed immediately. This was a massive violation of diplomatic privacy. His hand moved toward the disconnect key, but something stopped him. She was dancing. Or rather, attempting to dance. The station's audio system played what sounded like an old Earth jazz standard, and Zedwayantara was trying to move to its rhythm. Her movements were uncertain, almost childlike in their sincerity. She counted steps under her breath, he could see her lips moving, and occasionally laughed at her own mistakes. There was something achingly vulnerable about watching this powerful diplomat, who commanded rooms full of hardened politicians and military leaders, struggling alone with something as simple as a dance step. Marcus felt like an intruder witnessing a secret no one was meant to see. She stumbled slightly, caught herself, and then did something that sent ice through Marcus's veins. She turned directly toward the camera. Her eyes, those remarkable violet eyes that had been photographed 1,000 times in diplomatic briefings, locked onto the lens with perfect precision. A slow, knowing smile spread across her face. She'd known all along. Before Marcus could even process what to do, his communication panel chimed with an incoming private message. His heart hammered as he opened it. Lieutenant Webb, I believe we should discuss your technical difficulties. My quarters. Now. Come alone. The message was signed with Zedwayantara's official diplomatic seal. Marcus's mind raced through every regulation he'd just violated, every security protocol he'd broken. This could end his career before it truly began. Court-martial. Disgrace. Interspecies incident. But beneath the panic, another feeling stirred, curiosity. Her message hadn't been threatening. That smile hadn't been angry. It had been something else entirely. With trembling hands, Marcus secured his station and stood. The walk to the diplomatic wing felt simultaneously endless and far too short. When he reached her door, he hesitated only a moment before pressing the chime. The door slid open silently. Do come in, Lieutenant, Zedwayantara's voice called from within, musical and amused. We have so much to discuss. Marcus stepped into the ambassador's quarters, his throat tight with apprehension. The space was larger than he'd expected, decorated with a fascinating blend of Valerian aesthetics and human touches. Crystalline sculptures caught the light alongside earth paintings, and the air carried a faint scent of something floral he couldn't identify. Zedwayantara stood by the viewport, her back to him, silhouetted against the star field. She'd changed into traditional Valerian robes that shimmered with every subtle movement. Ambassador, Marcus began, his rehearsed apology dying on his lips as she turned to face him. You've been watching me for 3 weeks, Lieutenant Webb, she said, moving closer with that same fluid grace he'd observed on the monitor. Did you enjoy the show? Heat flooded Marcus's face. It was an accident. A routing error. I never intended to violate your privacy, and I assure you it won't. Stop. She held up one hand, and he fell silent immediately. Her expression softened, and that mysterious smile returned. I know it was an accident. The first time. Marcus's confusion must have shown on his face because she laughed, a sound like wind chimes that made something in his chest tighten unexpectedly. Valerian technology is quite advanced, Lieutenant. Do you really think I wouldn't detect an unauthorized surveillance feed in my own quarters? She circled him slowly, and he forced himself to remain still. I've known since the moment it began. Then why didn't you report it? Because I was curious about you. She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could see the subtle patterns in her silver skin, like constellations mapped across her features. The earnest young officer who watched me not with the cold assessment of a spy, but with something else. Fascination, perhaps? Concern when I struggled with your human customs. Marcus's heart thundered. This wasn't how he'd imagined this confrontation going. I've been studying your species for years, Zedwantara continued, settling gracefully onto a low couch and gesturing for him to sit across from her. I've read your literature, analyzed your history, learned your languages. But there's something missing, something I can't find in reports or recordings. What's that? Marcus asked, finally finding his voice as he took the offered seat. Genuine emotion. The unguarded moments that make you human. Her violet eyes held his with unsettling intensity. These negotiations are crucial, Lieutenant. One misstep, one cultural misunderstanding, and decades of progress could collapse. I need to understand not just what humans think, but what they feel. And you think I can help with that? I think you already have been. She leaned forward slightly. When you watched me dancing, you didn't see a diplomat making a fool of herself. I saw it in your expression, the way you leaned closer to the screen, the small smile. You saw someone trying, learning, being vulnerable. That's what I need to understand how to convey to the hardliners on both our sides. Marcus processed this, his initial panic giving way to intrigue. So you're proposing what, exactly? A deal. You teach me the emotional nuances your culture values, the unspoken rules, the subtle displays of trust and warmth that don't appear in diplomatic briefings. In exchange, I don't report your surveillance breach. She paused, her expression becoming almost playful. And perhaps I teach you a few things about Valerian culture as well. Fair exchange. It was madness. Completely irregular and potentially career-ending if anyone found out. But as Marcus looked at Zedwantara, brilliant, powerful, and in this moment surprisingly vulnerable, he found himself nodding. Fair exchange, he agreed. Her smile was radiant. Excellent. Then let's begin with something simple. She stood and extended her hand in a very human gesture. Show me how your people properly introduce themselves when they wish to become friends. Marcus rose and took her hand, expecting it to feel alien or strange. Instead, her skin was impossibly soft and warm, sending an unexpected jolt through his system. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the room seemed to shrink around them. I'm Marcus, he said quietly. And I think this might be the beginning of something extraordinary. The following 2 weeks fell into a pattern that Marcus had never anticipated. After his regular duty shifts, he would make his way to Zedwantara's quarters under the pretense of delivering security briefings. What happened behind those closed doors was something else entirely. Tonight, she'd asked him to explain the concept of humor, specifically, why humans often use self-deprecating jokes to build rapport. So you intentionally make yourself appear foolish to make others comfortable? Zedwantara asked, genuinely perplexed as she paced her quarters. This seems counterintuitive for a species that values status and competence. It's about being relatable, Marcus explained, watching her move. He'd grown comfortable here, in this space that had become their private world. Showing you're human. Imperfect. That you don't take yourself too seriously. She stopped pacing and fixed him with that intense gaze. Show me. Show you what? Make a self-deprecating joke. Help me understand the feeling behind it. Marcus laughed nervously. Well, I could mention how I spent 7 years training to be an elite intelligence officer, only to end up watching security feeds and teaching diplomacy lessons to someone far more qualified than me. Something flickered in Zedwantara's expression. Warmth, appreciation, something deeper. And how does that make you feel, truly? The question caught him off guard with its sincerity. They'd been dancing around deeper truths for days now, but this felt different. More real. Honestly, like maybe I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be, he said quietly. The air between them seemed to thicken. Zedwentara moved closer, and Marcus noticed the way the light played across her features, how her midnight blue hair caught hints of purple in certain angles. There's something I need to show you, she said softly. A Valerian custom. If we're to truly understand each other's cultures, you should experience this. What kind of custom? A trust ritual. It's how my people bond with those they. She paused, choosing her words carefully, those they wish to know beyond surface pleasantries. Marcus's pulse quickened. What does it involve? Instead of answering, Zedwentara reached up and slowly unwound the ornamental scarf from around her shoulders. Beneath it, intricate patterns glowed faintly on her collarbones, marks he'd never seen during her public appearances. These are emotion markers, she explained. They reveal our true feelings, which is why we cover them in formal settings. To share them with someone is to trust them with complete honesty. The patterns pulsed with soft blues and purples, shifting like aurora lights beneath her skin. Marcus found himself mesmerized. The ritual requires physical closeness, Zedwentara continued, her voice dropping. Palm to palm, so emotions can be truly shared. Will you trust me, Marcus? He should say no. This was crossing every line they'd carefully maintained. But when she extended her hand, palm up and waiting, he found himself reaching out without hesitation. The moment their palms met, warmth flooded through Marcus unlike anything he'd ever experienced. It wasn't just heat, it was emotion, pure and overwhelming. He could feel her nervousness, her curiosity, and beneath it all, something that made his breath catch. Affection. Desire. Connection. I can feel you, he whispered, awed. And I, you, Zedwentara breathed, stepping closer until barely any space remained between them. Her patterns blazed brighter, shifting to deep violets and warm golds. Marcus, what you're feeling right now? Tell me you feel it too, he interrupted, his free hand rising to gently cup her face. Tell me I'm not imagining this. Her eyes held galaxies of emotion. Every moment we've shared, every conversation. I've been falling for you. Slowly. Terrifyingly. Completely. Marcus didn't remember deciding to close the distance between them. One moment they stood apart, the next his lips found hers in a kiss that ignited every nerve in his body. She tasted like starlight and promises, her mouth soft and eager against his. Zedwentara's arms wound around his neck, pulling him closer as the kiss deepened. Her skin felt like silk beneath his touch, impossibly smooth and warm. The emotion markers on her collarbones blazed brilliant gold, and Marcus dimly realized his own emotions must be flooding through their connection just as intensely. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality came crashing back. This is impossible, Marcus said, though he made no move to release her. I know, Zedwentara whispered against his lips. But tell me you don't want to try anyway. He kissed her again, softer this time, filled with longing and the bittersweet knowledge that what they were starting could never be simple. When he finally pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. We're going to break every rule, aren't we? Her laugh was breathless and beautiful. Spectacularly. The stolen moments became everything. Marcus and Zedwentara met in shadows and silence, carving out fragments of time where they could simply be two people falling impossibly in love. Every kiss felt like rebellion. Every whispered confession in the darkness of her quarters was a secret they guarded fiercely. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. Marcus was reviewing classified intelligence briefs when he saw it, a communication thread that made his blood run cold. Coded messages between a faction of human separatists and someone embedded within the diplomatic corps. The target, Ambassador Zedwentara. The plan, sabotage the upcoming treaty signing and frame her as the aggressor, destroying any chance of lasting peace. His hands trembled as he traced the connections. The conspiracy went higher than he'd imagined, involving senior officers who saw the alliance as a threat to human sovereignty. And the attack was scheduled for 3 days from now, during the ceremonial signing. He had to tell someone. But who could he trust? Going through official channels might alert the conspirators. And bringing this to Zedwayantara would put her in even more danger. She'd insist on proceeding with the ceremony regardless of the risk. That evening, when he arrived at her quarters, she immediately sensed something was wrong. "Your emotions are storming," she said, touching his face gently as her markers flickered with concern. "What's happened?" Marcus pulled her close, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair, memorizing the way she fit perfectly against him. "There's something I need to tell you. But first, I need you to promise me something. Anything. That you'll trust me, no matter what happens in the next few days." Zedwayantara pulled back to look at him, her violet eyes searching his face. "You're frightening me, Marcus." He told her everything, the conspiracy, the planned attack, the people involved. With each word, he watched her expression shift from shock to anger to determination. "We have to stop them," she said immediately. "We will. But not the way you're thinking." Marcus gripped her shoulders. "If we go public now, they'll just deny everything and accelerate their timeline. I need to gather more evidence, find out exactly how they're planning to strike. But Zedwayantara, you need to consider postponing the ceremony." "Absolutely not." Her voice turned to steel. "That's exactly what they want. Fear and delay will kill this peace just as effectively as violence. How many years have our peoples worked toward this moment? How many lives hang in the balance? Your life hangs in the balance." Marcus's voice cracked with emotion. "I just found you. I can't lose you to some fanatic's political games." She cupped his face in both hands, her markers glowing with fierce love and unwavering resolve. "Then help me protect what we're building, not just between us, but between our worlds. You said I needed to understand human courage and sacrifice. Show me. Help me be brave enough for both of us." Marcus closed his eyes, knowing she was right and hating it. "There's something else," he said quietly. "I intercepted another message. When the treaty is signed and the peace holds, the Council is assigning you to the new embassy on Valara Prime. Permanently." The words hung between them like a death sentence. Valara Prime was 3 months' journey even by the fastest ships. They'd be separated by impossible distance, their relationship reduced to occasional messages across the void. Zedwayantara's markers dimmed to deep blues and greys. "How long have you known?" 2 days. "I've been trying to find the right time to tell you, but there is no right time for this, is there?" "So we sacrifice everything," she whispered. "Our love, our future, all of it, for duty." "I don't know," Marcus admitted, pulling her into his arms. "All I know is that I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe, even if it means losing you." They held each other in silence, 2 hearts beating against the cruel machinery of politics and duty. Finally, Zedwayantara spoke, her voice muffled against his chest. "Then let's make these 3 days count. Help me stop this conspiracy. Save the peace. And whatever happens after." She looked up at him, tears glistening in those remarkable eyes. "We'll face it together, for as long as we can." Marcus kissed her with desperate tenderness, pouring every unspoken promise into the contact. When they parted, his resolve had hardened into something unbreakable. "I'm going to need your help accessing the Valerian security protocols," he said. "And I'm going to have to break about a dozen regulations." A ghost of her usual smile appeared. "I thought you said we were going to break every rule spectacularly." "Then let's start now." They worked through the night, Marcus gathering evidence while Zedwayantara coordinated quietly with trusted members of her own security detail. By dawn, they had names, locations, and a plan. It was dangerous. It would likely cost Marcus his career. But it might just work. As the first light filtered through the viewport, Marcus held Zedwayantara one more time, both of them exhausted and terrified and desperately in love. "No matter what happens," he whispered into her hair, "you're the best thing that ever happened to me." Her markers blazed gold against his chest. "Then let's make sure something good comes from all of this." The treaty signing was in 48 hours. The conspiracy would be exposed, and their future remained as uncertain as the stars beyond the window. But for now, they had each other. And sometimes, that had to be enough. The ceremonial hall gleamed with the combined artistry of two civilizations. Human dignitaries in formal dress mingled with Valerian officials whose robes shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. At the center of it all stood the treaty table, flanked by security personnel from both worlds. Marcus watched from his position in the security booth, his heart hammering against his ribs. In his hand was a data chip containing every piece of evidence he'd gathered, proof of the conspiracy that threatened to tear this moment apart. In 30 minutes, the signing would begin. In 29 minutes, he'd activate the protocol that would expose the traitors. He caught Zywantara's eye across the crowded room. She stood on the main platform in full diplomatic regalia, looking every inch the powerful ambassador the universe knew her to be. But when their gazes met, her markers, carefully concealed beneath ornamental scarves, pulsed once with golden light. A private message meant only for him. I love you. Whatever happens. Marcus touched his chest in response, their secret signal. Then he activated the sequence. Simultaneously, security feeds across the station began broadcasting to every screen in the ceremonial hall. Evidence of the conspiracy flashed before stunned viewers, intercepted communications, financial transfers, the planned attack schematic. Marcus had timed it perfectly, revealing everything before the conspirators could react. Chaos erupted. Security forces moved with practiced precision, apprehending the identified conspirators, including 2 high-ranking human officers who'd been standing mere feet from the treaty table. Shouts of outrage mixed with confusion as the truth unfolded in real time. Marcus felt hands grip his arms, station security, no doubt summoned by the officers he'd just exposed. He didn't resist. This was the price he'd accepted. But then Captain Reeves, the station commander, stepped into the booth. Her expression was unreadable as she dismissed the security guards with a wave. Lieutenant Webb, she said quietly, studying the screens still displaying his evidence. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Yes. I violated intelligence protocols, accessed classified systems without authorization, and conducted an unauthorized investigation. I'm prepared to face court-martial. Reeves was silent for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. You've also prevented an act of terrorism, saved the peace summit, and exposed a conspiracy that would have set human-Valerian relations back decades. She extended her hand. Well done, Lieutenant. The full report can wait until after the signing. Marcus stared at her offered hand in disbelief before shaking it firmly. Through the window, he could see order being restored in the ceremonial hall. Zywantara had taken the podium, her voice calm and commanding as she addressed the assembly. Let this moment show the strength of the peace we build together, her words echoed through the speakers. Those who sought to divide us have instead proven why we must stand united. The treaty we sign today is not just words on a document, it's a promise that courage and truth will always triumph over fear and deception. The hall erupted in applause from both species. Marcus watched, his chest tight with pride and love, as Zywantara signed the historic treaty alongside the human chancellor. It was done. Peace was secured. But what about them? The question haunted him through the celebration that followed, through the congratulations and debriefings. When he was finally released from duty in the early hours of the morning, he made his way to the observation deck where they'd agreed to meet. Zywantara was already there, silhouetted against the vast star field, still in her ceremonial robes. She turned as he approached, and her markers glowed softly in the dim light. You did it, she said simply. We did it. Marcus closed the distance between them, unable to stay away any longer. But now what? You still have your assignment to Valara Prime. I still have my career here, assuming they don't decide to court-martial me anyway. About that. Zywantara's smile held secrets. There have been some developments. The Council, recognizing the unique partnership that led to today's success, has proposed something unprecedented. Marcus's heart stuttered. What kind of proposal? A new division dedicated to interspecies relations and cultural integration. A joint operation staffed by both humans and Valerians, working together to ensure the treaty's success. Her eyes danced with barely contained excitement. They need a human co-director. Someone who understands both intelligence work and cross-cultural cooperation. Someone who's already proven they can bridge two worlds. They offered you the position, Marcus breathed. They offered us the position. Both of us. Together. She took his hands in hers. If you'll have me as your partner. Professionally and otherwise. The words took a moment to penetrate, and when they did, Marcus felt something break open in his chest, a flood of relief and joy so intense it nearly brought him to his knees. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that what we found in the shadows doesn't have to stay hidden anymore. I'm saying that maybe we were always meant to build this bridge together. Zewantara's voice softened. I'm saying I love you, Marcus Webb, and I don't want to spend the next phase of my life light years away from you. Marcus laughed, the sound escaping like a prayer of gratitude, and pulled her into his arms. Yes. To all of it. Yes. Their kiss was witnessed only by the stars, but it felt like the beginning of something cosmic. When they finally parted, Marcus rested his forehead against hers, breathing in this moment of perfect possibility. So a human and a Valerian walk into an office together, he murmured. That's going to raise some eyebrows. Let them stare, Zewantara said, her markers blazing brilliant gold. We'll give them something worth watching. Below them, the Unity station hummed with life, two civilizations learning to share space and build something new. And at the heart of it all, two people who'd started as observer and observed, become teacher and student, and emerged as something neither world had quite seen before. Partners. Lovers. Bridge builders. As Earth rose over the station's curved horizon, painting them both in shades of blue and gold, Marcus realized that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single mistake. A wrong keystroke that becomes a right connection. A surveillance error that transforms into understanding. Ready to change the universe? Zewantara asked, lacing her fingers through his. Marcus squeezed her hand, looking out at the vast possibility of stars and futures yet unwritten. With you? Always. And as the station turned toward the dawn of a new era, they stood together, proof that love could transcend not just distance or difference, but the very boundaries between worlds. The end.